that. So,
There was not in
Oh.
relation to that.
okay, it could be anything.
Okay.
Don't have to be that.
You mentioned that the gay community is like they're the
Guardians to the
guardians
yes.
to the African.
Well, no, what I said, just so we're clear, in some African cultures, and not as a whole, you'll find. Are you familiar with what's his name? Creole. Say it. I always get his name mixed up. Mutwa
Creed.
Mutwa Creed. I say it backwards. All right, go do some. Pull up some of his information. He teaches a lot on it. He'll give you some specific tribes and cultures in Africa where homosexuals are upheld in high esteem because when dealing with higher levels of spirituality and contacting the realm of the ancestors, they're recorded in those cultures as being guardians at the door or the gateway. You understand?
Because they can access both energies.
They can, exactly.
I thought it wasn't homosexual. I thought it was just a male with a female spirit or a female
Well, here's
with
the
a
thing.
male spirit. I didn't
Right,
think
right.
it was gay.
No. Well, let's go. Let's go take it to the next step. This is what we're trying to say. You got to get out of when we're looking at a homosexual. We're only looking at their sexual preference, but they carry that same energy that you're talking about. But we're focusing on the sexual preference. So they are, in essence, of what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying? But they were androgynous, and they intermingled with both sexes. Do you understand? But that wasn't the focal point. That wasn't the issue of importance. You understand? So what we're saying now is you're going to find that a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. Just like amongst heterosexuals, you got a lot of messed up homosexuals too that have their own personal agenda. That's just life. That's humans. You understand what I'm saying? But in dealing with this aspect of Guardians of the Gateway, these were androgynous beings. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they did partake in sex with both sexes. That's something you got to go do the research. But it wasn't drawn upon, wasn't focused on as much of an issue as we're focusing on in modern day and nowadays. You understand what I'm saying? Now, this is what we have to understand. And same thing, if you go research some of the work, you'll find out also that the first beings that incarnated here, as we talked about, they were androgynous. They were hermaphrodites and hemorphodites. So what we're saying, yes, they weren't all just the fact of their sexual preference, that they were homosexuals, but they were androgynous beings, and some did partake. You can see this in some of the writings. They did partake in sexual activity with the same sex. That's a fact. Now, again, like I said, my stance on it, I don't roll with that. That's just me. But I understand it and I know its place. You understand? I'm not going to sit there and go on a bashing tour on homosexuals because I understand the bigger picture. You understand what I'm saying? So, but you are correct in that sense. It's just the sexual preference wasn't drawn upon because it wasn't an issue. We have made it an issue now. Now, in my realm, like you said, you have your own part. That's just, hey, if that's what you do, that's what you do. That's not what I do, though. I don't, keep it over there.
Also, we're both male and female.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I see. I'm going to get you one sec. I'm going to get her, then I'm going to come back over here. No. What you were saying, I want to finish this before I forget the story. I'll get you. You had one, right? And then I'm going to go over here, and then I'll come back. But I want to finish this just so I don't forget this. This is important. You bring this up. This is the important thing to understand about the androgyny. I want to finish on this so we're clear. All right. When we look at the human anatomy, right, we've talked about this a bunch of times. We have two breasts, right? Female has two breasts. Everything on our body that we have, to understand this and remove the sexual preference from it. The female has everything we have, including a penis. We know the clitoris is nothing but a penis. That's what it is. And if you see there's some women, when you look at their clitoris, some of them, and actually it's very elongated. That's a reality. Because they have more of that genetic of these androgynous beings. It's the same thing when you look at a hermaphrodite that has the dual sex organs. They have a clitoris and a penis. We know hermaphrodites exist. Now, the thing is, genetically, like we said, when a female always gave birth, like we talked about before, they always gave birth to twins. That's why they have two breasts. Now, our breasts serve no purpose. You understand? What are they for? Genetically, we have them. Long story short, without going through the whole anatomy thing, what I'm basically trying to say is we have to first confirm who and what gender is and what sexuality is. That's number one. Number two, we as males are nothing but a genetic mutation of what females really are. That's what we are. Because we know genetically, now I'm going to go even further back, we know genetically females incarnated on the planet first. That's a scientific fact. Religion teaches you backwards. Men were not on the planet first. We know this. We know we have to establish that fact. We know based on the findings of the bones of Lucy, it goes back 1.5 billion years, etc., carbon and fossil dating. But now let's bypass all that. All that shit is irrelevant when, let's go to the 7 principles of truth and dealing with the doctrine of gender. Once we vibrate out of third density, person, place, a thing, and we get into the doctrine of gender, on the spiritual realm, it's non-existent. It doesn't exist. It's a representation, like you were saying, of a principle. There's a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And that gender, that only manifests physically when one takes on human form. Here's the deep thing. Try this with yourself. You're going to find out what you're going to be surprised what you find. Go into your meditations and ask, why did I incarnate here as what you're terming a male? You're going to be surprised what's going to come through. Do it. I'm going to tell you what's going to come through for you, but you just do it. You're going to find out, as I found out in my travels, the female energy is more raw and powerful than the masculine energy. The female energy is that warrior spirit that you got, not the masculine energy. You think it's the masculine energy, but you're going to find out it's actually reversed. This planet is governed by feminine forces. It's controlled by feminine energy. The longer males try to control it and dominate it and rule, the more chaotic this planet is going to get, because it's not a planet that's controlled by masculine forces. Androgyny, androgynous sexuality, and when dealing back to the principle is the question that the sister brought up, these guardians are the gateway. Don't focus on the fact that just their sexual preference, because some of them did have the sexual preference of intermingling with...
That's what I was saying.
Right.
I was saying that the spirit was feminine.
Correct.
And the gender was male. I wasn't talking about sex, period.
I got you. Good.
I'm talking about a male that got a feminine spirit.
Correct. That's correct.
I'm talking about no
on the spiritual realm.
So
correct.
when y'all sitting, other people might hear you say that
And they get
think you
confused.
talking about
Okay, I got you.
homosexual.
No, that's correct.
I'm not
That's
talking
correct.
about
That's correct.
homosexuality.
I got you.
I'm talking about a male with a female spirit.
That's correct. When you take it back to its essence, that's correct. But remember, when they depicted it in physical, when some of them manifested in the physical, they were androgynous looking. Meaning, when we say androgyny, and I know you know this, I'm more or less speaking for everybody else. If you look now, even in the Hindu culture, the Dravidian culture, you always see the Hindu deities, they look female-ish, they got male bodies, but even the males look female-ish. You understand what I'm saying? You even see that in ancient Egypt with Angkor. As I told you before, he was an androgynous. He was a hermaphrodite. He's always had the face of a broad, strong-looking man, but he had a curvaceous body. So they always depicted to represent what you're talking about there. So yes, you're right. So you can't get confused with that, so hopefully nobody got lost with that. But yeah. But do that meditation and let me know what you come up with in private. I'm curious to see what comes up. I got an idea what's going to come up, but definitely do that. But that's an excellent point. All right, you and then I'll bounce back over here.
When you
So
talk about the colours of the candles, you said pink and blue is for harmony.
Pink always represents healing. When you're trying to bring reconciliation and healing, like say you were doing spiritual work, say your mother and your sister are not talking right now, they're not on good terms. You can impose your subconscious mind, if you charge that candle with the intent to bring peace and harmony between your sister and your mother, you'll find out. You may not one time do it. You might have to do it 2, 3, or 4, or 5 times, but you'll find out you can open that doorway to communication and healing. You can bring that healing and that change about. You understand? So the color pink represents a healing force. Yeah, the color pink. Does that help you?
Does that stand apart from candles? Is that the same with just colour in general?
Color in general emits energies, period. That's correct.
Because I've heard that a guy said he painted his room pink
And correct. It had a strong
it was
influence.
calming
Correct.
and I thought, and he said he didn't care what anybody else said, so that's what made me ask you, if colours, so that red, so I painted my front entrance red for energy.
And that's good because
Yeah.
I'll have a lot of people, like her son, for an example. He can't wear red because red brings a lot of energy. And when you have certain spirits, like warrior spirits, for an example, wearing the color red can bring you a lot of volatile energy if you're working with a lot of warrior spirits. So yes, regardless of the candle is just a mental focal point for you to charge. It's a visual. Now, here's the deep thing. When you practice mental magic, you don't need any of that stuff. That's just stuff you can use to enhance your magic. Is it necessary or mandatory? Absolutely not. You'll find, though, it just makes your rituals more elaborate. It enhances them more personally for yourself. That's it. So it's not like you have to do it, because you can get to the point, chaos magic, which is more pure mental magic, I find the best magic I do is the magic I don't plan. You'll find there's a science in that. So if I just get up the spur of a moment to do something, that tends to work more effective sometimes than the ritual that I sat down and planned for a couple of days.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is you got to utilize the energy and the tools, how they work for you. So I want to stress to everybody and everybody that sees this video when it posts, it is not mandatory, because then we're back to religion. If we start saying, I have to do candle magic, I have to do it this way, I have to practice it like that. Now we're back to starting that system of control again. So by all means, we're just dialoguing about different methods of magic you can practice. You can do it, you don't have to do it. You can choose to do it. There's sometimes I do it, there's sometimes I'll leave it alone, I just don't feel like doing it. But there's sometimes when my spirit says, you know what, I want something a little more elaborate. Sometimes you might want to get dressed up elaborate. It just enhances the ritual. Sometimes I'll do it in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops. It's just because I'm not feeling elaborate. You understand what I'm saying? But sometimes you might be working with a specific energy, and that spirit can be very elaborate, and they want you to put on a nice traditional robe or whatever, and you might have to go that route. But your spirit and your intuition is going to dictate to you how to work that. And again, if there's something that you're not feeling and gravitating, then you just don't do it. That's it. So these are just tools to enhance your spiritual work. But the colors by themselves definitely house a lot of energy, big time. So you always want to look at your wardrobe. Your wardrobe will dictate to you what type of person you are energy-wise. If you wear a lot of light colors, you're more, a very, balanced, more laid-back, timid spirit. If you wear more darker earth tones, darker colors, you're an aggressive warrior. Like, I rarely wear earth tones like this, but I need to do it sometimes because the energy. I wear a lot of dark clothes. I like black, so I wear black a lot. You understand? But sometimes you got to be careful because that absorbs everything. It absorbs everything. It filters everything. It's like a filter for your AC. It filters all the dirt out, and then whatever you charge it with is what it emits. So you got to be careful when working with that. But I find I work a lot of rituals with black candles because black can be used for anything because of that fact. I can banish and eliminate energy by focusing on it mentally, and I can filter out that energy that I want to send out. That's why I like to work with black. And my whole altar is black. The skull on my altar is black. I have a black crystal skull because of what that represents. If I'm doing focal point work on it, the symbology of what it represents. I work with this Baphomet symbol a lot because Baphomet, contrary to belief, because people think it's devil worship, they don't know what it is. When you see, if you're familiar with the Baphomet symbol, have you ever seen it? All right. The reason why I bring up the Baphomet symbol is because of what it represents. You'll see it has the depiction, the face, the goat of a man. It has the breast of a